Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Kevin, joined by Patrick, and we've checked out the Gold Plus games, which are the games with gold for Microsoft, the PlayStation Plus games, for free for August of 2018. And here are our recommendations.
Mafia III is hands down the winner this month. While there are a lot of great games, this is the winner for the month, hands down. The only drawback to the entire game is you can't fast travel, and gratuitous violence and, offensive racial slurs, but if you can get past that, this game is amazing. The adjustment of difficulty as well as the auto aim, being able to adjust both of those parameters really helps the game to be as difficult as you want or as forgiving as you want for you to continue the story. It's an amazing mob/crime story. If you're a fan of Goodfellas or any other kind of movie like that, or if you like the GTA games, you are going to love Mafia 3.
Bound by Flame on the PS3 is kind of like a Dragon Age game, but with a lower budget and much smaller cast. You can have a mercenary with you, which is funny because you're also a mercenary. You can be a fighter, a ranger, or a pyromancer. Combat is pretty good. I liked the way that it looked. It was sometimes a bit choppy. It was fun to get to use the different kinds of skills and figure out the best way to approach each type of enemy. The story itself is pretty standard fantasy fare, and the characters are varied and interesting.
For Honor is honestly exactly what you would expect. It's decent graphics, there's a multi-layered combat system, but unfortunately it's a little janky and broken sometimes. I had to redo the tutorial twice, and then after redoing the tutorial twice for the game, I went into single player, which gave me a tutorial-like level. Very repetitive just to try to fill out the game, because this game isn't about single player, it's about the multiplayer. Single player was fine, but most of the single player was padded tutorials after they gave you a tutorial already. Combat system in the game, like I said, can be a little wonky, can be a little broken, but it is intriguing. You are balancing stamina, you're adjusting how you hold your weapon to automatically block certain attacks. You have to evade certain attacks that can't be blocked, so it is interesting, but unfortunately still broken and buggy. If you love the idea of storming castles, and you love the idea of these Vikings and samurai and knights all meeting up together, this game is great, but you may want to skip it if that's not your thing.
Serious Sam 3 BFE, I'll be honest, it's bad. There was a lot of screen tearing, and I had difficulty figuring out where to go sometimes. The landscape and scenarios that they put you into are unnecessarily large and extraordinarily empty. There would be times when, after a section of combat finished, I would wander around trying to remember where I'd been and where I hadn't been, and basically the only thing that would guide me was the armor and health pickups. You get unlimited ammo with all weapons. That was a bit odd, but combat overall is just not fun. You have special kill moves like in Doom 2016, but whenever you're doing them, you're also vulnerable to attack from the other enemies, so it's kind of useless. The enemies themselves are bland, not really exciting. There were kamikaze enemies in particular that would run at you. You would be able to hear them for about 10 seconds before you could see them, and considering that their noise that they make is an extended yell, it was extremely annoying, especially considering that even with headphones on, I frequently wasn't able to tell where they were coming from. I would go ahead and skip this one. In fact, I would have skipped it when it came out.
Forza Horizon 2 is one of the better driving games I've played in quite a while. It's a relaxed feel of you driving around Europe with your friends, and all of the people you're actually driving against or driving with are actually real drivers, so that's kind of cool. The rewind function on this makes it really forgiving if you make a mistake. You can rewind, you can do it again, get it right. It allows you to correct your mistakes on the spot, or as on the spot as it could be. Unfortunately, even though the graphics are great, it made me just want to play GTA. If you love driving games though, this is totally for you. It's a great game. The graphics are wonderful. The cars are wonderful. But I just wanted to race GTA. I wanted to get out of the car, but that's just me.
Draw Slasher on the PS Vita is probably available on iOS, and I think that's where it should have stayed. It's a game where you use your finger to track across the screen and slash zombies, but it wasn't really fun. It wasn't particularly intuitive, and the stamina bar keeps you from being able to do a number of moves at once, so you'll have to recover in between them, and whenever this happens, you're completely vulnerable to attack. I would skip this one unless you just have a really intense need to draw your finger back and forth across the surface of your PlayStation Vita. In fact, maybe skip the game and just do that with it off.
Dead Space 3 brings us back to the survival horror that we loved, but unfortunately, it's not as good as the first one. It's nowhere near as good as the second one. This game was plagued at launch by a lot of microtransactions, but taking all of that out of account, because you're not really dealing with that, you're just getting a free game, it's okay. It does have online co-op, but I couldn't get anybody to really join up with me. The game is dead. It's unfortunate for such a great franchise, but if you enjoyed Dead Space, you will probably enjoy Dead Space 3. To me, it's just not as much of a narrative pull that I wished for.
Space Hulk on the PlayStation Vita is based on a board game of the same name. It's got some elements of XCOM to it, but the luck system seems incredibly unfair, and frequently, even if you put your people where they're supposed to be, you'll still run into situations where you'll fire point blank and miss, while the enemy gets several attempts to attack you. I would skip this unless you really want to see how a board game should not be played on a Vita. Maybe check out the board game?
Disney's Epic Mickey 2, Power of Two, is fun. If you've played Disney's Epic Mickey, then you know what you're getting here. It's amazing Disney action, so imagine Kingdom Hearts without the Final Fantasy. It's all Disney, all the time. Now you're pairing up with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who is actually Walt Disney's creation before Mickey that he had to re-emulate to make his own thing, and then making Mickey Mouse. The interaction of the two characters is really interesting, as well as really fun and forgiving gameplay that I think the whole family will really enjoy. Dead by Daylight, or as I like to call it, the thing that came right before Friday the 13th, the game, is a asymmetrical online game where you play a group of survivors trying to defend themselves against a generic slashery character. As I said, the Friday the 13th game is out as well. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. I don't know which one came first in regards to conceptual stuff, but personally, I feel like this is the Friday the 13th game without the interesting aspects, without the interesting goals, and that's unfortunate. It's very repetitive, and it also, without the goals, it was very repetitive, and I found myself doing the exact same things and being completely hopeless and aimless as to where to go and what to do. The game doesn't help you. There's no way to communicate with people. Everyone just kind of runs around and gets hacked up. It is not balanced whatsoever, where Friday the 13th gave a little bit more balance and a little bit more intrigue as to how you can defend yourself and the different scenarios involved. Unfortunately, I would skip this. I would go play the Friday the 13th game instead. So that's it for the free games for PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold. Let us know in the comments which one you thought was the best. What was your favorite game out of these? Did you think we were wrong in our reviews? And did you think Sony or Microsoft won in this case? I'm leaning towards PlayStation this month. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that, and gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.